This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You prepared your kids for their first steps. The first day at school, their first dance, that big test, all the wins along the way. With a College Savings Iowa 529 plan, you'll prepare them for even more. Register before May 31st for a chance to win a $1,000 contribution. Visit collegesavingsiowa.com to make the first move toward a bright future. College Savings Iowa. It's how parents get through college. Administered by the State Treasurer of Iowa.
Hashtag no music, no intro. I haven't even been able to promote the podcast we did last night that was posted today because I was so busy with work. Haven't had a chance to even put the links up or anything. And yet here we are again recording another episode. And let me set the record straight. I'm not complaining that we have to record. As two people who have a podcast, and this podcast is a licensed business, we are very thankful for all the content that the Saints have given us in a very short amount of time these last couple of weeks. So we are forever grateful. We're also tired. But we could not let today go by without recording something really quickly. Speaking about the whole Derek Carr situation, the news gets reported today, and I don't even know who reported it. I've just work been grinding me down, not in a bad way, but it's just been super busy. I don't know if Underhill reported it first, but long story short, in that the Raiders have given the Las Vegas Raiders have given Derek Carr permission to seek a trade, which has been known for a while. Like, that's not the new news, but the new news is that the first team that he's going to visit are the New Orleans Saints tomorrow for a meeting. As negative and as pessimistic I may have been about this team, we may have been about this team recently, I want to say this, even though this is also getting that old Raiders team back together again, that we talked about last night, just getting the band back together, Joe Woods, Derek Carr, DA, just getting them back together. But a common gripe I see on Twitter, just here and there, because I haven't even been on social media that much, but a common gripe that I've seen is like, ugh, Derek Carr, ugh. Now, if you want to say that because, potentially he was making a reference to being at the Capitol insurrections, which I'm 100% that's what he was referencing. He said real weird shit after the whole John Gruden situation happened. And like, he's already blocked on Twitter by me. People like, why did you block Derek Carr? I don't know. I think it was maybe the it's almost that time tweet that he put out on Instagram. Then he deleted right during the day of the Capitol, or maybe the day after.
He's a serial blocker, though. He's a well-known serial blocker.
Yeah, him and his brother David Carr. So maybe me and Derek Carr would be buddies. I don't know if personal. I'm not speaking to it personally, although I try, especially recently with football. Like I try not to separate the two because I think it's important. But I just go back to what was it, like a month ago. So Derek Carr was given like this sermon at a church, and it got posted on Twitter. And I just quote tweeted it, and I was like, "Oh, that's our new quarterback." And I put the gif of the guy at church with the coat, bro, just knocking everybody.
I've been
I don't
looking
know
for
who I
that
can't.
gift too.
Oh, you go to just go to Google, type in church guy coat gift, comes up. Don't the first person that tweeted that I don't know who it was, but it was in reference to Brandon Cooks.
That was me.
It was you.
That was me. Years ago. Brandon Cooks.
Top 10 tweet, bro. Anyway, get into the subject of football. I don't think people realize how hard it is to fucking find a quarterback. Yes, Derek Carr has largely shown you who he is in the NFL. That said, he did have a season where he was looking like an MVP candidate. I know it was a while ago. But he's largely shown you what he is as a player. He's an above average NFL starter. I would probably rank him 14 in the league. Maybe 15, right? He's basically the new Dalton scale, but I think that kind of also like diminishes him as a player to a degree, because I do think he is.
If you had to put him in a tier, he'd be in a tier with Kirk Cousins. Who else? Like just those guys who, you wonder if they can really take you home, like to the Super Bowl.
Right?
But they are legitimate, like starting quarterbacks in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like they're legitimate starting quarterbacks that could produce and win games for you and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So they're not like backup quarterbacks. They're not purgatory quarterbacks necessarily. They're better than that, but they also aren't elite franchise quarterbacks where, you just feel like, oh, it's done. I'm good. I'm good to go. I don't have to think about quarterback again.
Got my guy.
Yeah.
So I guess my retort, and again, we don't know how this is going to play out. This is just a meeting. One of your fucking funny tweets that you put today was like, "Where is Dennis Allen taking Derek Carr tomorrow?" And our dude Holden Mayo said David Buster. But to the point that you and I have been making on this pod is, can you as an organization show us something, right?
Show us something, bro.
Something like the Andy Dalton thing. Like you and I have said it repeatedly. I can't do another season of it. Can't do it, bro. I just can't do it. I can't. So if that means getting Derek Carr, then that's something. And I'm in the camp of like you could do a lot worse. And my retort to like kind of the criticism I'm seeing on the timeline about it is that, okay, if it's not Derek Carr, then who? Because I think that's a realistic question to have. The Saints are in a bad predicament in terms of starting quarterback in the NFL. They didn't make a good exit plan when Drew left. It was potentially going to be Jameis. That didn't work out. Taysom Hill didn't work out. Kind of fell into Andy Dalton. Obviously, Andy Dalton is not the long-term answer. They're not bad enough to pick high enough where they could be picking a quarterback, even though they're right now probably seen as like a bad team. So when you're a bad team, but you're not a bad enough team, and your cap situation's fucked. Right. Like there aren't many ways for you to get a quarterback unless you are lucky enough to hit on one in like the second round or the third round of the draft. It's hard. These motherfuckers, man. And so I just see this pushback on, and I'm just like I don't know. I don't know what you could ask of them to do differently.
And another point is, good quarterbacks just don't hit the market. You won't see top 10 quarterbacks hit the market and be available. You may You get situations like last year. Last year we had Matt Stafford kind of get on the trade block. But even him, like he was kind of in that same tier as like a Derek Carr, where yeah, he's talented. He's you
Sure.
can see the talent and stuff, but is he really the guy? You know what I'm saying? That's what people
Mm-hmm.
ask. But a
Mm-hmm.
year later, he's a Super Bowl champ. You know what I'm saying? It's the same with Derek Carr, man. It's like you really don't know what his top level could be. But I've seen it all day. Like I keep seeing the tweets, like, man, is he really that much better than Andy Dalton? Like, yeah, he's better than Andy
Yes.
Dalton. He
Yes.
is.
Yes.
He is.
Yes.
Here's the
Please.
tangible things he's better at. He has a better arm. He is more of a I don't know. I wouldn't say killer mentality, but he will make plays to win you the game. Where Andy Dalton would never make a play to win you a game ever, ever.
I also think of a very underrated thing about his game, and this comes from being coached so much by John Gruden. And I'm not saying Andy Dalton didn't do this, but he is very, very good at calling out the scheme for the line of
Oh
who
yeah,
needs to. He's a very smart quarterback.
he's a smart quarterback. He's a veteran quarterback. He's been
He
around.
is.
He has like 4 or 5 offensive coordinators. Learn different offenses, completely different offenses. And which something I keep bringing up, his best production was with John Gruden in the Saints like West Coast offense. Like when you strip the Saints offense down to like its studs or
No,
whatever,
yep.
it's a West Coast offense.
100%.
Bill Walsh, all that. You know what I'm saying? It's a West Coast offense. And John Gruden kind of taught Sean Payton the ropes. So a lot of the lingo and the verbiage is the same. And there's tweaks and wrinkles there. And it's not expecting, Derek Carr, he would run like Drew Brees Saints offense because Drew Brees Saints offense was like built layer on top of layer on top of layer,
It was a
15
machine.
years. He's a
A
machine.
machine.
This would start where Derek Carr knows, and you build with his talent what he's good at. If you have a good offensive coordinator that could do that. But we'll get to that another time. Um, but if you look at his production, the with Gruden, 2019, 70% completion rating. That was his highest as a starter, in the league since. 70% completion rating, 21 touchdowns. Yeah, I know that's not great. Eight touchdowns. I mean, 8 interceptions, 67 completion percentage, 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's like good quarterback play right there. That's 2020. That's when he was in his stride. Second year in his Gruden offense. Next year, he had another solid year, but that's when Gruden got fired, like midway. But they kept a lot of the same things going. Um, so like he gives you like if you can get him in his offense and he plays up to the level that he could play at, he gives you good starting quarterback play. Borderline, upper level quarterback play, man. And maybe he hasn't reached his peak. I don't know. But even if he just gives you what he has done at his best level, like that's good. Like that's
It
good
is,
quarterback
man.
play, and it's going to get paid. Like he's going to, whether you pay him, but some teams going to pay him, man. Like they are thirsty for that, bro. Like it's cold out there.
It is, and I think a thing that's if if they trade for him or whatever, and the one criticism I think I have for it, and some of this is potentially things that I know, but I think one criticism is like the Raiders have to cut him. Okay, the Raiders have to cut him, I believe, by the 15th, or else there's something in his contract becomes guaranteed, and then they're on
Yeah.
the hook for the money. Okay, so the Raiders don't really have any leverage to work with from a team at all. The only thing that they could potentially
Right.
tell the Saints is like, well, if you don't give us XYZ, then there's another team out there that might. I want to be very careful how I say this. Now, that's not to say that this may change, but there aren't really a lot of teams, at least right now, in the mix for Derek Carr.
Right.
So that said, as an organization, if you know you're maybe the only girl, the only girl at the ball, then as an organization, whatever your best offer would be, I would lower that by like whatever. Like if I was potentially going to offer you a third because I thought there was other teams that wanted him. Now, if I know that there's no other teams that want him, then I'm just saying you can get a fourth. The only way I would be okay with potentially giving up a third, and for me in compensation, like that's the highest I would go. I know a lot of people are saying fourth, fifth, sixth, blah blah, whatever. The highest if I was running the team or had input of the team is a third. Now I would tell the Raiders, all right, we'll give you a third, but you got to eat X amount of dollars on that contract. Now, if y'all do that, it's kind of getting back, not exactly like the Brock Osweiler trade when he went to like Houston or like the Browns to Houston or whatever that shit. I don't remember, or whatever, whatever it was. Basically, the Browns or was it the Broncos? I don't remember. Whatever team it was that traded
Texas to Broncos. I mean Texans to Browns. That's what it was.
Right, Texas to Browns. Yeah. The Texans essentially paid for a draft pick, a second round draft pick, if I remember correctly.
Right.
I would look at it from that prism and like, I'm giving you this third, but y'all got to, our money bad over here, bro. And I know Mark Davis, you don't like to pay a lot of money because you broke too, but we broke. So we gonna take this contract on. Y'all got to eat whatever amount. From that perspective, I'd be okay with it because as much as people would like to think that you could draft a quarterback that is as good as Derek Carr in the third round, that's a very low chance of happening.
Almost impossible.
Almost impossible.
Highly improbable.
How would this, if this move happens, and I'll say, and I don't know anything for certain, is I think it is indicative that, I think we should also mention that Derek Carr has a no trade clause. So if the Raiders are trying to trade him to a team he don't want to go to, no. He'll enact it, and he can't be traded to that team. He can veto any trade to any team because of that no trade clause. I think it's very telling that since the Raiders had given him permission to seek a trade, the first team that he's going to visit is the Saints. That to me is essentially very telling.
Because from what I understand, one of the Raiders beat writers said compensation has already been agreed upon.
Just like the Sean Payton trade, bro.
Just like the Sean Payton trade. So
like if I'm going to let other teams talk to you, we got to know what we have in place in case things go well and we agree to a deal. Same concept.
Same concept. So that's agreed to. So now it's just, does Derek Carr want to come here? Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, does he want to make that move to give the Raiders to go ahead to waive that no trade clause and make the move? So we'll see, bro. Like, who knows, man? Like, but it is interesting for now that we're the only team in it. I would expect the Jets to be in it. But we'll see. That could completely change tomorrow. We'll see. Because there's, a week, like deadline spur action, man. Like,
yep,
there's a week where a lot of things can happen. Right now, it looks like, Saints. We saw this with the Deshaun Watson trade last year, where it was just almost guaranteed he was coming to the Saints, and then the Falcons get in, and then the Browns just get in at the last minute. It's just these things can change really quickly, so I wouldn't call it a for sure or given or anything like that. We just got to see where it goes. But it's interesting because we said yesterday, like they have QB as a must.
It's been a must for them dating back to even the last season that just ended. Season with Andy Dalton and Jameis. I know that maybe not even midway through the season, the number one objective this all season was to get a quarterback.
Yeah,
that has been the Saints' number one objective at least since mid-season of this season that just ended. So if you can start this offseason, start this free agency with a Derek Carr, then at least that is one thing that is just already done, answered. You can focus on other things. I would say as a fan, if someone who, if I had any input, I don't, but I wouldn't let me trading a pick for Derek Carr. And if a trade does happen, this is not any insider knowledge, anything like that. If a trade does happen, I do think potentially the pick would be a third. I just the feeling I get. I don't know anything, but I think it would be a third. I don't think it would be higher than a third. But if you're trading a third round pick for Derek Carr, but the draft plays out, and I don't know who fucking knows. But let's say somehow, some way, a quarterback falls to 29 or 30 that they have such a huge grade on, or there's a quarterback sitting there in the second round at pick 41 that they have a huge grade on that they weren't expecting to be there. They shouldn't, even though they were going to be paying him, potentially would be paying Derek Carr good quarterback money, they should not let them trading for him keep them from adding one in the draft. However, I know how this team operates.
Exactly. You know that ain't going to happen.
And I 100% know that once they get Derek Carr, if they get Derek Carr, shit, it's Gucci, baby. Now, and I could get it from their perspective because they're like, okay, well, we got the quarterback. Now we just need to go get this position. Now we just need to go get this position. We don't need to burn another resource, because basically you would be wasting, quote unquote, wasting two picks at the same position if it's a third, and if it's, a second or a first for a quarterback. They don't see it like, they don't want to do that. And that's not me saying I'm hearing this. This is just how this is just how the Saints operate, bro. Like, we know them historically. The only way I can see them drafting a quarterback, even if they trade for Derek Carr, is somehow fucking CJ Stroud fucking fell to like 29 or something like that, bro. Like, it would have to be something that is improbable. And I just don't see it.
No, neither me. And bro, if they are able to get Carr, bro, it's going to be all about cooking for this season. That's it. They're going to try to improve, if anything, they're going to trade up from in their first round. They're going to trade up for somebody, bro. I don't even know. An offensive guard, a tackle, defensive end, somebody.
This is a trade right now, right? They're going to trade pick 30 in the draft. They're going to package next year's second that they just got from trading Sean Payton.
So the whole Sean Payton trade, basically.
You already know how it goes in this bitch, right? They're going to trade up and draft Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, bro.
They're going to get the Texas Tech guy again, huh?
But not the right one. They do trade. They're like, let's trade up for this fucking edge rusher from Tech, but not a fucking quarterback. I will say this, and I think my biggest fear about the whole Derek Carr thing, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm glad you brought up John Gruden, because I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, you take some of those John Gruden Raiders teams offenses that John Gruden coached with Derek Carr, and you give John Gruden at least Saints level defense from last season or maybe the season before.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a pretty good team, bro. Like, is it a team that could go all the way? Probably not, but is it a team that, like,
maybe so?
But week in, week out on Sunday, that's a tough out. But my biggest thing is, like, man, if Derek Carr could come here potentially, and he could be Derek Carr, have a decent level of quarterback play, or even a good level of quarterback play pretty consistently, and the Saints are able to have some resemblance of defensive consistency and not a huge regression. If the NFC South stays not good, like, that is a team, in theory, that could at least potentially win quite a few games and maybe win the division. The only thing I would say two things. One, we talked about this last night about the defensive regression that we potentially see coming. You said it perfectly, man. It would be the most fucking Saints thing ever to get Derek Carr. Derek Carr comes in, even with an offense that maybe not taking a whole bunch of shots down the field, but he just runs an efficient offense, just a respectable NFL offense, bro. Like, can we just be respectable on offense, bro, at this point?
25 points a game, 24 points a game.
And the defense we have is like fucking 2014 through 2016 Saints defense. It would just be the most on brand thing.
That's what I'm saying, man. Because people are like, man, look at he's been the best DC we've had in franchise history, which is true. Like, he's been great defense. But I'm like, well, what about 2016? Like, he was DC then, and he was one of the worst defenses ever. And even that defense was slightly improved from the defense prior to that. But, it took an influx of talent. You got Sean, the 2017 draft and all that stuff. Got some new coaching staff. So, that's all I'm saying is there's a lot that remains to be seen, and everybody just assumes that the defense is what it is and is going to continue to be what it is. I'm just saying we got to wait and see. You know what I'm saying? I'm not predicting anything. We got to wait and see. We got to see what happens at free agency. We got to see how these new assistant coaches fit in. We got to see how DA does, taking more of a load on running the defense and stuff like that. We just got to see. Because the defense last year, although down the stretch it was good, it faced a lot of crap offenses. Even like the Eagles, they had Gardner Minshew. The run defense was a problem all year. Even
atrocious, Ryan.
Even when they approved, the run defense was bad. I thought the red zone defense wasn't great. So it wasn't like a great defense. It was like good. You know what I'm saying? Like, they played well, but it wasn't like a great defense. So my thing is, you don't want to see a regression from that. You want to see improvement at least. So it just got a ways to go. So I'm just like caution people to just stop just assuming, oh man, the Saints defense is good. It's gonna be good. Doesn't matter what happens, the Saints D gonna be good because DA got that magic sauce. No, you don't have that magic sauce. Just like Sean Payton, greatest offensive mind ever, one of the greatest to ever do it. He had a trash offense. I mean, look at 2020, 21. That offense was horrible because of the skill positions. And yes, you can blame the quarterback play, but also the skill position, which is what we talked about for a long time. You look at the offensive line issues going on with all the injuries. You hope that they could put a good offensive line in front there, because one of his issues going back to Fresno
pressure
has been pressure. He's a little tentative in the pocket. He gets a little, his eyes start moving down a little bit, and feet get a little just feet.
Bro, we saw it at the Raiders game at the meetup.
So did, yep.
That's a great point. It's a great point you bring up because, and it's one that I feel like me and you and on this podcast keep like beating over the head, because I think it's easy for fans when the football season ends. It's like, next season we'll be here, and everyone's gonna get healthy. Like, the offensive line is like tattered. It is shredded. You got a healthy Eric McCoy, maybe semi-healthy James Hurst, and like that's it. That is it. Ruiz took a step forward this year to the point where you weren't even worried about him as a guard, like going in the games. He was going to get like he was good. He was a solid good guard. Liz Frank injury. Trevor Penning. Liz Frank injury. That's worse than Cesar Ruiz's injury. I don't think Andres Pete is going to be back. So then you got even if potentially just assuming James Hurst stays at left tackle, right? You got a hole at left guard. Now you got a hole at right guard. You got to deal with Ryan Ramczyk. He got a degenerative knees. He got a bad hip. Like,
yep,
it's shit. Shit.
Yeah.
But to that point, and this is any quarterback, but like there is some, especially like you give them a good offensive line that they can really do their magic and work. And Derek Carr is kind of one of those players. I did want to ask you though, what is your cutoff of like what's the most you would give up to get Derek Carr?
What's the draft pick?
Yeah.
Like a 4th round pick. But like you said, man, if they could take on some of the money, I'd give a 3rd round pick. Like I'd trade picks for money. You know what I'm saying? For cap space. Like that's a rule I wish they had in place where you could just trade picks for cap space. So I'd do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm willing to do that. But yeah, 3rd, 4th round, like that's the most. But man, they just got to be shrewd about it. Don't be stupid. Like the dude is getting cut in a week. You know what I'm saying? Like don't let them don't fall for the okie doke.
But this is so their perspective. I'm gonna give you their perspective because I've defended them at times, right? Because this happened when they traded for Paris Harrell, RIP, from the Niners. So they traded for him for the Niners, right during like the roster cuts to get to 53, and traded for him for like a 7th round pick. And everyone was like which is weird that people were up in arms for a fucking 7th round pick. But people are just up in arms that the Saints gave up a 7th round pick for him because the Niners were going to cut him. So the response and the retort to that is even if a player is going to be cut, there's that assumption that just because the player is cut, that player may not want to go there. That player may sign with a different team. Some players are subject to waivers, and where you fall on the waiver wire, like you may not be able to claim him. So in their perspective, it's like, this is the player I want. I'm going to go get that player, even if I have to give up a 7th. I could see them using that exact same fucking mentality for Derek Carr.
Exactly. And I get it. Like that's why I don't have a problem giving up a pick.
I don't.
To secure the trade.
Even a 3rd.
I don't have a problem.
Even a 3rd, bro. I don't. I do not have a problem.
Like if you break it down just simply like 3rd for a guy that you're going to sign for the next 3 years, a quarterback, that's not a bad play.
And a 3rd, and a 3rd for maybe the Raiders eating quite a bit of that money. Then you can really sell it to me.
Then you can sell it to me. You can sell it. But end of the day.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If Derek Carr comes in and plays well, who gives a fuck about a 3rd round pick? Like, who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares? Like, I would never think about it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just one of those things. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Don't do nothing stupid. Just make it happen, man. Make it happen. I think that's how they approach it.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's how they do business in general. I gotta bring this up real quick. So there was this. I saw this late, right in our Discord. Someone posted it. Like why is Michael Thomas going after Nick Underhill on Twitter right now? In a tweet that is now deleted.
It was interesting. I was scrolling and I saw it because Nick Underhill, he was tweeting about the Saints cap, how they manage the cap and all that stuff. And Mike Thomas adding them like, I got receipts. Stay tuned. I'm like, what is he talking about? Then the tweet was gone. I was like, that's weird. Then I saw other people talking about it. Like, did y'all see that MT tweet? Like, yeah, I saw this shit. Like, what's that about? So all the theories are gone. Some people thinking it has to do with the whole thing because Nick Underhill and all the B writers basically the restructure they did a couple of weeks ago. Mike Thomas basically looked like he was cut on paper, like it's done.
Right.
And Nick has tweeted about that. So some people assume Mike Thomas is talking about that, and maybe like that's not the case. I don't know, bro. I don't know what to make of it.
All I want to say is this: I don't know what to make of it either. But if you can go get Derek Carr for a third, I am resigned to a third, especially if the Raiders need some of the money. Go get him for a third, and you're able to potentially maybe work things out with Michael Thomas, where he at least for one more season can play with the Saints and potentially stay healthy. And you have an offense where you have Derek Carr quarterback, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed. You give yourself a fighting chance in a bad division and a not top heavy conference, bruh. Now, I truly believe that, especially in the NFL, talent. If you're even talented as a player, if you're a talented team, that only takes you so far. At some point, bad coaches are going to bite you in the ass. Perfect example
Absolutely.
is the LA Chargers. Now they
Yes.
get some injury. They have bad injury luck from time to time. But sometimes, like, you have a coach playing Mike Williams in a pointless Week 18 game, back broken. Nigga need a bacchiotomy, Ryan. Why?
Yeah.
Why? At some point, bad coaching is going to come back and nip you and get you. So, but try to get talented players, try to have a good, talented team. But that skill position with potential Mike Thomas and Olave and Shaheed, and assuming they don't trade AK, you got Derek Carr. And I think, and one thing I really wanted to point out with this whole Derek Carr thing is if they trade for him, the absolute biggest winner of a Derek Carr trade, assuming that the Saints don't fuck it up and do dumb shit, will be Juwan Johnson.
No question. No question, because he going to get them targets, boy.
Targets.
He going to get targeted.
Targets.
And look, back to Michael Thomas, if you look at what even this season with all the problems the Raiders had on offense, Devontae Adams had 1,500 yards, 100 catches, 14 touchdowns.
That's including a game where he only had one catch against the Saints that we saw in person.
Right. Boom. This is not saying Mike Thomas can come back and be that. You know what I'm saying? Like Mike Thomas, if you brought Mike Thomas back, it's a gamble. Huge. You have no idea. You can get nothing. You can get a lot. You can get some mid shit. You don't know what you're going to get because the dude we haven't really seen him much other than like the first couple weeks of last season. So you just don't know, bro. You don't know. But potentially, like that'll be like, because basically when they cut Michael Thomas this season is what we will assume. They basically need to fill that spot. Like that's the hole.
Yeah.
They need a big body possession wide receiver to work the middle of the field. Like that's what they need with good hands. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the hole. And if you could get Michael Thomas to fill that hole, like that'll be great. That'll be fantastic. That'll be beautiful. Fantastic, man. So, we'll see. Like that's just conjecture right now. We don't know what's going on. We just kind of pulling that out the sky and trying to read between the lines of those mystic wide receiver tweets. But, we'll see, man. But there's always some shit with the Saints, bro. Like, what I say, bro, is just always something.
Always. Trying to think there's anything else just regarding any of this that we want to touch base on. Anything else? I think we hit it all in a very timely way. I know. Derek,
I just want to say, bring Derek Carr on, bro. Like, if y'all listen to this, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, Derek Carr, but I'm just at the point,
I was the
man,
exact
bring him
opposite,
on.
Ryan.
He was opposite. You've been about that action. I just
I need something different, bro. I need something. You just need to
I
be wet,
need it,
bro.
And it would be such a nice, like the Kill Bill list. It'd be such like a nice scratch off the list, like just to scratch that quarterback off the list, and then I can go look at some wide receivers. I can go look at some running backs, and you know what I'm saying. And start dreaming man, maybe peak tight ends. I could really start dreaming and goosing myself
Washington.
Up. Let's go.
One last thing. I do want to say one last thing. Without kind of giving too much of what we talked about on the Patreon only pod. But some of why the offense was as bad as what it was last season, some of that was coaching and some of that was Pete Carmichael. But I do want to kind of say in the best way that I can that some of that came from the direction of what he was given, right? There's a certain type of offense, there's a certain type of playing style that Dennis Allen wants to run. If you have listened to this podcast enough in terms of what that offense looks like, just imagine a game that they won against the Bucs last season where they won 9-0.
Yeah.
It's a ball control offense. It's I won't say death by a thousand cuts, but just a very efficient ran offense. Kind of just here and there, move the ball consistently. Not very heavy on shot plays, not very heavy on taking chances, which kind of is a perfect analogy for Dennis Allen. And just be efficient, score enough points, and then my defense will do the rest, and we'll win a lot of games like that. Which is not what any person should be fucking trying to do offensively in the NFL in 2023. But that's neither here nor there. My thing is that if they go and get Derek Carr, to their point, Derek Carr fits a lot of that like a fucking glove. Like that is his game. He does it at a very high efficient level. Again, very similar to kind of Andy Dalton, but just kind of like Andy Dalton times 10 or whatever. I think he is different than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, like Kirk throw that bitch down the field, bro. Like Kirk kind of like a little like a gunslinger.
Yeah, Kirk be cooking.
Derek Carr doesn't cook like that, but he, when needed to, he can throw some absolute dime deep passes, dime deep balls. So I'm just saying, if they go out and get Derek Carr, can y'all just can Dennis Allen let fucking Pete Carmichael call a few more deep shots down the fucking field when you got people like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed on the team? Please, bro.
Please. And another thing is, like in the Saints passing game, you are given options. Like it's not like the case where Pete says throw to Olave. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. It's you have progressions, you have certain routes that, expose certain players quickly, some that lead, some you have to wait on. A lot of that is up to the quarterback, how quickly he reads and diagnoses the defense, how quickly he reads what the wide receivers are doing and stuff like that. So, it's not so much the fact that Pete Carmichael's offense is bad. Like the route concepts, a lot of that shit is the same. It's just the fact of some of the personnel usage, Alvin Kamara in the passing game, stuff like that. But as far as like all the plays there, like a lot of times the plays are there. But Andy Dalton usually when he takes the ball, he knows where he's going. He knows where he's going. He's boom, boom. Yes. And we even saw Andy Dalton take a couple shot plays, but those are strictly designed shot plays.
Designed. Yes.
Like he's not about to take a five-step drop, read, then okay, I'm gonna hit a shot. No. He's gonna get the ball, ball out.
only shot play he hit like that last season was the Olave touchdown against the Rams against Jalen Ramsey, because Chris Olave came out and said like that play was not designed to go there. So that's out of all the snaps Andy Dalton played last season, that's the only one that he.
That's the only one. That's the only one. And Derek Carr will take some shots. He will take some shots.
Yes.
Yeah, that is telling.
He will.
But Derek Carr will take some shots because he's just that type of guy that he's going to want. You know, he wants to win. You know what I'm saying? He wants to win, and I've seen him. I've seen him kind of gut it up and really just try to push his team to a win. And bro, Raiders, bro, can we terrible defenses, bro. Terrible defenses.
I mean, we don't have to go that far back. I will never forget that fucking Raiders game. Was it week 1 or whatever they played in the Superdome, bro?
Week 2, I think.
Was it week 2? Whatever one it was.
Oh no! Oh, you talking about the week 1? Oh, you talking about when Jack Del Rio was the coach? Yeah. Oh man.
And in the Crabtree 2-point conversion,
Carr was gonna be a super stud. I thought Carr was gonna be a stud after that game, bro. I was like, man, Derek Carr, dude.
Derek Carr has some games where he plays, and you like, God, okay. But then those games will happen like one game, 2 games, and then like it'll just be some very average quarterback play games, and that's his thing. Like his highs, he doesn't keep his high level performances of highs consistently game after game after game after game. Even when he was with John Gruden, although he had that great season, and then he got hurt. And then they played like the Texans in the playoffs or whatever, and that was a whole disaster. I think that's been his best season in the league, where he legit looked like the dude. And it was anyway. There we go. We hit on the ball.
Let me ask you this though, because
go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Well, some people retort with, what about Jameis Winston? Because
what about him?
Oh, Jameis Winston that much separated from Derek Carr? Like,
yes.
Like Jameis Winston got let go from his team. Derek Carr getting let go, but like Derek Carr got benched. 3 games left in the season.
He did.
So, my thing, Jameis Winston.
The Saints want nothing to do with Jameis. If you're asking me as a person, I even me as a person, I would still tell you from just watching a lot of football that Derek Carr
is better.
I feel is a better quarterback. Now, if you're asking the Saints, that is just a relationship that is just going to be best that the two people just go their separate ways, bro. It's just not an option. Like I'm a little surprised that Saints, like there's still Saints fans that even still talk about Jameis, because like that is not
still,
happening.
Bro. Still, bro.
Weird. So it's so funny because I when we finished recording last night, I was like, oh, we'll be back at the Super Bowl unless something happens, and then boom, something happens. So we will now try to be back after the Super Bowl on Sunday, whether that be Monday, Tuesday, or next week or whatever. But if something were to happen, if a trade finalizes and Derek Carr becomes an actual Saint, we'll get on here and we'll do our emergency podcast. But I think a lot of our Derek Carr thoughts have been put on this episode. Like, we'll still do an emergency podcast, but I think a lot of our thoughts have really been put on this episode. But then we can stop talking about it theoretically and just talking about it practically and how that may look for a team. But like you said, I've been completely fine with it. I'm glad that you're now fine with it, because it's just do it. Just do it. Do it and do it reasonably, and as shrewd as the Saints can be, which sometimes usually appears to be not that shrewd when it comes to negotiations with other teams. But try to be as shrewd as you can be if they're going to trade for Derek Carr, and then let's just fucking prepare for the season, man. Like if I got to pull up the exchange between you and Allen, with the guy with the fucking Confederate flag as holding it up, bro. Like I'll pull it out, bro.
I just know, like, those game day Zooms will be much more fun with Derek Carr, man.
Oh my God, yes,
much more fun, bro. You know,
and they were as fun as they could have been.
Feel like you're actually in it.
Yes. Well, we if we got down like 10, 13 points in the game this past season, bro, I was like, all right, let's wrap it up. Wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for coming.
Which even if we were up 13, it was like, we were up 13.
Oh, here he comes. As a fan, that's a really fucking awful position to be in, bro. Like you telling me, like,
and that's what I try to get across. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but I'm saying that's what I try to get across to Saints fans is like, you know, with a Derek Carr, you wouldn't feel like that if it's 10-0. The opponent is 10. You know, you scored nothing. 10-0 in the second quarter. You don't feel out of it with Derek Carr. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in a bad spot, but it's not like, okay, I'm stuck. When it was 10-0 with Andy, it's like, well, that's it.
Start thinking about the opponent next week. But we will follow this, keep track of it. We'll be back when we're needed. Man, that Derek Carr tweet came out today, Brendan. It was like the bat symbol, just like there it is. Streets are needed. Thank y'all for the support. Continue to listen, continue to share us on social media, retweet, give us likes on Instagram. I'm going to try to do a better job of actually putting the links on when Ryan posts the initial tweets for the podcast. Been a little lax on it just because I've been so busy, because usually by the time he's tweeting it, I'm already at work and I'm just to the grindstone, bro. Thank y'all. This probably will be a very crazy, fun, erratic, heartbreaking off season. I feel it in my bones. But we got y'all covered every step of the way. We'll be back when we are needed. If we are not needed beforehand, we'll be back after the Super Bowl. Thank y'all so much for the support. And with that, we're out.
Peace.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.